All right, now I have the opportunity to bring someone to the stage who you got a little sneak peek in the movie of this person's story. Over 30 years ago, as a resident at our Broadview program, her life's work was revealed to her. And here now to tell you more of this story is Patricia Flores.
We left Toppenish / the Yakima Reservation to escape domestic violence and showed up at one of Solid Ground's shelters in March of 1994. My daughter was 14 and she had her 9-month-old son, my grandson. I called the phone number listed, and yes, the phone book, and the person who answered the phone made an appointment for us to come in for our intake. The workers there just really knew how to work with people in need who are going through crisis. I didn't realize it at the time, but since then I have learned that I felt like I couldn't take a full breath during that crisis, and once we got into our room at the Broadview shelter, I felt like I could finally exhale and inhale, and we felt safer. I remember we would come down from our apartment on the second floor into the community room, and I saw a flyer posted from Seattle Rape Relief, and they were recruiting volunteers for their rape crisis line. And that really spoke to me. Volunteering, helping others in crisis. Maybe that would help me to go through my crisis and my family's crisis as a single mom. And I thought, they're going to train people. Maybe I can do that type of volunteer work. I know what it feels like to be on the other end and being vulnerable and asking and looking for help, for safety, and to work on rebuilding your life again. I found out I had an aptitude for this work. I worked as a sexual assault crisis volunteer in Seattle for a couple of years. I have been working with the movement to end gender-based violence off and on since 1994. Eventually, I got a job with the Washington Coalition of Sexual Assault Programs in Olympia as their advocacy coordinator. In that position, I helped develop and lead trainings for new sexual assault advocates, like the training I went through in Washington State. Full circle for me, from taking the training in 1994 to being one of the training facilitators in 2019. This work is so rewarding. I was in Spokane where I did my first training for sexual assault advocates when all of a sudden I was in pain. My left hip was killing me. Not surprising, I had not processed all the feelings I had for the past decades, and they were coming up somatically to be dealt with at this time. My first 3-day training of intensive sessions, I was training people who want to be sexual assault advocates, who are amazing humans, who want to do the work for people, to be with people and support people going through a horrible nightmare. But it was difficult, and at that point, I really didn't use what I had learned from being a client of services. But when I looked at the evaluations and I saw different people say, I want to hear more of what it was like for you when you first became a sexual assault advocate. My first reaction to that was a strong contraction in my body and a loud no in my mind. And I knew I needed to show up authentically to be the best facilitator for this training for the new sexual assault advocates, as we fondly call them, baby advocates. And I continued to do it. And it was so helpful and cathartic for me. And you just see in their faces, they were blown away and full of appreciation for my vulnerability and sharing my story. But landing at Broadview at that time, and it really does feel like it was just yesterday, gave me the stability I needed, the solid ground as a single mom with a teen daughter and a 9-month-old grandson. That life was changing, and it gave me a little bit of a foundation that wasn't cracked. there was an earthquake happening underneath us, where I not only left home, a very rural area, looked for work, but I also found a volunteer opportunity to serve. That really helped me deal with the pain that we were going through to help somebody else, and it does work that way. So as I stand before you, all these years later, what I want you to know is Solid Grounds Shelter became our safe place in a tumultuous time in our life. A new foundation in the city. The presence of the shelter staff, they were so mindful and so present with us, non-judgmental, considerate, and respectful was everything. From the Broadview Shelter, I began creating a stronger foundation for myself and my family. This was the impetus for the work I do today. Thank you.
Let's show our gratitude for Patricia.